Hey there, it's Jeffrey Van Dyke, CEO of Big Vision Business, and today we're going to talk about how to know if you're really stepping in the right direction of your calling or just making it all up. So first of all, I want to thank you so much. The comments you've been sharing on the Next Level Calling interview series that Max and I did have been so inspiring. You shared your hearts, you shared your concerns, you shared your big visions. And today, I want to take some time and respond to you directly. So let's start with you, Carolina.
Carolina writes, "The calling I have been receiving is placed in front of me every day. And it's so big that I can't believe it. I'm excited, but I question myself and think, does this really mean what I think it means? The only reason I have doubt is because I've never had anyone around me talk about an experience like this. How do I know how to interpret my messages and know that I'm moving in the right direction with my call?"
What a great question. So first of all, let's say this. Not most people get big global callings. So it's very normal for you to feel like, gosh, nobody around me seems to be having the same experience I'm having. And in fact, the reason we've been doing this interview series and the reason we are on Earth as Big Vision Business is to provide a home for this tribe that is receiving these big callings. Because when you start to see one another, you start to really realize, I'm not alone. And there is a reason I've received this, and there is a way to proceed. So, let me go through a few things in terms of this question. One is, how do you know if you're making it all up or not? And there's a couple ways I could answer that. One is, on a gut level, you probably know your own truth. You probably have an experience underneath the doubts and the questioning. If you just let it all settle down, deep down, there's a knowing. This is true. And what I know about truth is when it lands, you know it. And so that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is it can be really helpful to dialogue with your spiritual guidance about the calling. Is this really true? Why am I questioning it? Why am I the one for this? What I mean by spiritual guidance is that there is something doing the calling. There is something sending out this calling, and you can tune into it. In fact, on some level, you already have. Your antenna was up and you received the calling. So the connection is already established. It might not be a connection you use regularly, but you can tune into it and dial into it more fully. Now, some people perceive of their spiritual guidance as something outside of them. You know, God, the universe, spiritual guidance, angels, guides, whatever. For some people, spiritual guidance feels more like an internal experience, like the voice of their soul speaking to them, their inner voice, their higher self communicating with them. Really, in my opinion, it's all kind of the same thing, just different ways of perceiving this vast energy of oneness and love. So in terms of how to use that, one of the things I would encourage you to do is dialogue with your guidance on a regular basis. You know, a lot of people go to their guidance to get the big level calling, and then they kind of forget to stay tuned in for how to proceed. So in terms of your questions of like, is it real and how do I proceed? I would encourage you to go to your spiritual guidance and ask, is this really real? Why is it me? Is this the correct interpretation of this big level calling? And what are my first steps? What can I do today to start taking steps towards this calling? And then on the other side, to use it and stay tuned in as you take those steps and say, great, what instruction today? What guidance do you have for me today? What path is going to be illuminated today? So that every step of the way you feel held and supported and guided. And you might ask yourself, what if I can't trust my spiritual guidance? Or what if I don't really feel like I have that two-way connection dialed in? What I'd say is, it's a relationship. And just like any other relationship, the more you show up to it, the stronger the relationship gets. There's many different ways to tune into your guidance, many different ways to dialogue with your guidance, different ways I teach, different ways other people teach. But the first thing I'd say for you today is just to start paying attention to how your guidance does show up today. Right? Do you get messages? Do you get a gut sense of things? Does synchronicity and serendipity start to show up in your life? Do you get sort of your hair standing on end with some truth is spoken? Start tuning into how your guidance does show up today. And as you do and show up more fully to that relationship, the relationship will grow and strengthen and support you moving forward. So Carolina, I hope this was helpful to you. And I certainly hope it was helpful and informative to everybody in the tribe, everybody answering their next level calling. I know that there's lots of questions people have on this journey, and it's not always an easy one, and you can feel a little bit alone. So if this served you and you're watching, please, I'm going to ask you to do two things. One is share it with other people in your world that you know are going through the same thing and that could benefit in being part of this conversation. Send them over to bigvisionbusiness.com and have them watch the video and be a part of this conversation. And secondly, in terms of this conversation, please comment below. Answer these two questions. One is, what questions do you have about answering your next level calling? And second, what questions do you have about trusting your spiritual guidance and really using it day to day in your business? Thank you so much. It's such a blessing to be with you on this journey. I send you lots of love, and we'll see you on the next video.
Subscribe.
Actually, there are little bitty cartoon characters that you can talk to in your head. It's going to be great. All right.